SpaceX's new artificial gravity Starship is a game changer. You must have probably heard about the story of Scott Kelly's grapple with gravity in space after he couldn't walk after spending a year in space. This grim experience should be an indication for those making ideas for interplanetary spaceflight to the red planet Mars. Spaceflight of this kind is programmed to travel between worlds of our solar system. After a year in space, as they say, change is constant. There is a funnel of studies which indicates that life in space changes your body. Astronauts in microgravity face bone loss and muscle atrophy, depressed immune systems, and sleeping difficulties. Some astronauts even go through vision changes, which can be terrifying and spine-chilling. Microgravity is the situation in which humans, objects, or any physical properties become weightless or light. It is also known that a long-time openness to microgravity can cause several physiological and biochemical changes in the body of astronauts. Despite the excess of extensive exercise, medication, and the best antidote that several years of space medicine can assemble, recovering from prolonged zero gravity is no child's play and causes terrible physical difficulty. Two conditions can reduce this risky trip to Mars. The outbound leg to Mars is expected to take 120 days, roughly a third of the time that Kelly spent in orbit. Martian gravity is only 40% of Earth's gravity. Most of these points are intangible if we examine the Red Planet's mission. During prolonged missions, exercise can be the most beneficial in reducing large muscles atrophy, and to further protect themselves from this horrifying effect of microgravity, most astronauts use a cycle ergometer and treadmill with downward applied pressure to maintain fitness. Exercise in space protects astronauts from losing consciousness when they return to Earth. The lack of gravity astronauts' knowledge during spaceflight makes them drop to the ground helplessly when they return to Earth. This zero-G effect takes a toll on their body. Landing on Mars incapacitated will be nothing short of suicide, but we don't have to stand there and look. What is the solution to the problem and how can it be solved? The common understanding of artificial gravity is to invent rotating ships, like a spinning ship, making it move away from the center, and the force will clasp the crew and their anti-microgravity equipment against the ship so it will minimize the effects of gravity. This technique of artificial gravity provides weight to your body, weight that your bones and muscles cannot distinguish from the weight that Earth or another planet provides on account of their sheer mass. Many technologies depend on gravity, including toilets and pumps. You have to design special ones for zero-G. Suppose you have a vessel half full of liquid. If that liquid sits on the bottom of the tank, it is easy to measure with a floating valve. But if the liquid is itself floating aimlessly around the tank, it is a bit harder to measure. This technology makes it easier for humans to carry out daily experiments and training with gravity because it makes gravity Earth-like. For example, you don't have to worry about spilling water in space and it starts floating. When you drop something with artificial gravity, it stays on the ground and does not start floating. Otherwise, everything needs Velcro and strings or it floats away. Artificial gravity is certainly a game changer for astronauts because it also creates a synthetic environment and knows where different density gases are going to settle. Executing this technology means crafting the configuration of this ship to enable it to have a ring rolls around the long axis of the ship. It, however, lies on the rotational pace and radius of the ring. Different centrifugal speeds can be achieved. We can somehow modify the ship that can be built to contain artificial gravity and increase the speed also. This means, like your air conditioner, the way you increase the fan of the AC and it gets colder, you can do the same with a ship with artificial gravity. The Starship has not been constructed around these considerations. The long axis of the ship is the 106-foot nose-to-tail axis with a 30-foot diameter. This yields a mere 15-foot radius for acceleration, necessitating a rapid roll for the ship, which will create severe damage to the space frame. Even worse, as the crew traveled up, that is, towards the core of the rolling spaceship, the forces would decrease. The stainless steel spacecraft has a body built with a powerful telescope as well to observe celestial bodies and watch to find out if the Starship has already landed successfully. This powerful spacecraft is built to go on missions to conquer planets, and the red planet seems to be its first target. With the help of its steel body, it could take a few beatings and also take photos of planetary environments before and after landing. This Starship is purposely built for SpaceX Starship to create artificial gravity, says CEO Elon Musk. With interplanetary travel for mainly one orbital observatory in our solar system, it is said to be more powerful than the Hubble in science and astrology communities. The Starship is set to change how we travel in space, and the colonialism of Mars is drawing nearer as the Conqueror arrives to make a smooth ride for astronauts without worrying about the impacts of microgravity. In 1960, there was no single experiment that survived the single-stop test. The SpaceX Starship orbital made fuel consumption low, reducing the transition from Earth to Mars to less than 100 days or less, with astronauts in microgravity significantly experiencing lesser time. The possibilities of artificial gravity on a 3-month transition seems less clear given the ramifications it will have to go through and the modifications expected to make such a spacecraft fully functional. It is said that the spaceship will be made known for its mission after a series of tests has been done. It will contribute to the development of modern spacecraft. Artificial gravity is created to bring ease to interplanetary space travel for astronauts and to improve the transition to Mars further. For a successful trip, SpaceX and its CEO are unclear about what methods they will use when launching Starships, and the possibilities are not endless as there are plenty of techs or maneuvers, regardless of what Elon Musk reveals, but rather he secretly says SpaceX considered the concept. It takes a lot to build an artificial gravity Starship, and we can't deny that this will bring a lot more knowledge to space technology and ways how we can further make space travel easier and less stressful. Artificial gravity will strengthen us in space, enable us to live longer and provide a comfortable atmosphere, which will enable astronauts to cruise on long voyages and journey into the galaxies. Luckily, there's already an artificial gravity experiment underway aboard Earth's International Space Station, or ISS. Scientists have developed an experiment with fruit flies to understand how microgravity impacts their development, to understand better if developing life could develop normally in space under microgravity conditions. The concept of artificial gravity is not new, and it goes back over 100 years, with the first recorded example provided by Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, one of the founding fathers of rocketry and aeronautics. In 1903, he published a study titled Investigation of Outer Space Rocket Devices, where he suggests using rotational force to create artificial gravity in space. We can learn from astronaut Scott Kelly after he spent 2 years in space and came back paralytic, and he admitted that readjusting back to Earth could be agonizing. He was one of the first few men that sparked the birth of artificial gravity to end such a nightmare for astronauts and bring forth ease and comfort when looking forward to interplanetary space expeditions. We look forward to the future and expect modern technology to have progressed tremendously, and not only Mars will be conquered, but other planets as well. The end of microgravity is near as we speak, as artificial gravity is here to stay.